The 10 biggest lies of the enemy and how to combat them. The 10 biggest lies of the enemy and how to combat them. We're on day 30, you guys. Day 30. We are today, this is the last day that we will spend on the lie that I am meant to suffer. So the lie is I am meant to suffer. Today we're going to be looking at spiritual practice, prayer of renunciation, and invoking the saints. The spiritual practice that Deacon Keith recommends to combat this lie is very practical. And it's got a therapeutic element to it in that, with the intention to be very intentional, and you're letting a new behavior, you're seeing a behavior that's common for you, or a behavior that you enjoy, but it's the intentionality behind it, and it's the very intentional thoughts. It's like you're reframing your thoughts here, and you're trying to just be intentional with your thoughts so that they stick, so that we have a different feeling about what it is that we're doing. So he suggests that we intentionally delight in God and the good things that he sends us. He recommends that we choose an activity that we enjoy, something that we've always enjoyed. Whether it might be something like, walking through a park, or he even mentions specifically, maybe you enjoy eating good food, having a really good meal. I think about things like maybe you really enjoy going fishing or boating or riding horses, or, maybe walking through a garden, maybe tending in your own garden. Maybe maybe you're artistic and you enjoy painting or drawing or sketching, or, spending time with your grandkids. Something that you really, truly enjoy doing, something that brings your heart joy. And he recommends that you just spend time in that activity very intentionally, focusing on your feelings, focusing on the goodness that comes from that, how fulfilled you are with that activity, and that it's like that you're very thoughtfully engaged, and that you take time to savor the experience, that you don't just rush through it. It's just being very present to the moment. And while you're participating in that activity, that you give thanks to God, that you see his work at play in your enjoyment of this activity. You see his hand in it. And it requires what we have to do is slow down enough to be intentional with it. We have to slow down enough to be intentional with it. We have to allow our mind to focus on that goodness. Okay? We have to allow our minds to focus on that goodness, because that is seeing God. It's the ordinary. It's our ordinary life, but it's choosing to see where God is in this. It's choosing to see that goodness. And in that moment, while your back may be hurting, or while, there may still be something else parallel going on in the world, you're not focused on that painful thing. You're focused on that goodness. You're focused on that feeling that you get whenever you do get to participate in things that you enjoy. And many times, our life, even if we do have pain and we do have struggle, it's not all suffering. There is good in there. We just don't focus on it. Okay, this is an intentional, this is a practice to overcome a lie. So it is an intentional act. It's intentional. And your mind may be so ingrained in focusing on the negative that you have to bring your mind back several times. Maybe you're so used to being in pain and suffering that it's difficult for you to focus on anything positive. That's where you have to have resilience. Okay? That's where you have to have resilience. If you're driving a car and you're not really paying attention and it starts to go off the road, you bring it back. You drive your thoughts like you drive a car. You bring it back. You fall down 7 times, you stand up 8. I mean, it's this intentional action. It's intentional. Our thoughts are intentional. We are going to shut off all of the distractions whenever you are participating in this activity that brings you joy. You shut it off. You go ahead and set up those boundaries. You disconnect your phone. You don't have to take a picture of absolutely everything you do. You don't have to experience through the lens of a camera. You shut it off and you be present to the moment and you enjoy it. You experience it fully. And while you're experiencing it, you give thanks and praise to God for this opportunity. You know, think about how you feel. Think about whenever the joy wells up from inside you and then it just ends up on your face. You know, you spend time intentionally thinking about that. And then at the end of that activity or in the evening, when you reflect on the positives, you reflect on the joy that it brings. You allow these experiences to replace negative experiences. It takes practice. And if you are resistant to it, you need to ponder where that's coming from, okay? You need to ponder where that's coming from. Who would have me not want to experience joy? Who would have me not want to experience an activity that I find such comfort and joy in? Who would that be? It's not God, okay? It's not God. We have to do our part to eliminate the distractions to allow us to be present to the moment. And if you have a tough time sitting down your cell phone or not taking a picture or Snapchatting every experience that you have, that's on you. You gotta look at that. Those are the distractions from the enemy, okay? Maybe that's an addiction in and of itself, all right? But if you want to overcome the lie that you were meant to suffer, you have to be very intentional about it. You have to be very intentional about it. Your mind has to be free and protected to experience these good things, okay? Pray against the fiery darts of the enemy coming in to steal this moment from you, all right? Enjoying something can become just as much of a habit as complaining about something that's negative. All right? It's a choice and it's a perspective. And maybe it's a paradigm shift in our thinking, but it's okay for us to, even small things, it doesn't have to be a vacation. It doesn't have to be something big. It doesn't, those are just excuses. The goodness of God is all around us, no matter what else is going on. All right? The goodness of God is all around us. Maybe it's reading a particular author. Maybe it's, looking through a picture book. I don't know. It's going to be different. What brings you joy? Maybe it's been so long since you've really thought about what it is that you enjoy that you're lost to that. Spend some time. What did you like to do when you were younger? What did you like to do before you got lost in the world? What brought you joy? What brought you joy? Savor the experience. Savor the experience. And in everything, give thanks. We can grow spiritually. We can become stronger in our spiritual life. Okay, but we have to start somewhere. And it has to be with intentional. You've never changed a habit. You've never changed your life without being intentional. There's just no other way to do it. There's just no other way to do it. It won't stick. It won't stick if it's not intentional. And when you're ready, there's the prayer of renunciation. The prayer of renunciation is on page 107. And don't forget, these prayers of renunciation, you can tailor them to your specific needs, your specific suffering. This is Deacon Keith teaching us how to pray against the lies that we've come into agreement with. Okay, go back and continue to pray the prayers of renunciation from the other lies that we're working to free ourselves from. All right, remember, it's not a one and done. It's not a one and done. You have to sit with this. This freedom and healing is a journey. It's a journey, okay? And you will have greater degrees of freedom and healing from here on out if you continue to walk this path of freedom and healing. And I can promise you that there will be distractions, there will be roadblocks. You know, I can't help but wonder how many people out there has started with this and something's happened and they're like, oh, I think I need to not do this anymore because I'm behind. No. There is no behind. Unless you completely quit, you're not behind, okay? Press on, press forward. Freedom awaits you. This is a journey that you'll be on the rest of your life. And I promise you will see God in every bit of it. You will see God all along the way. He will walk with you. Invoking the saints. Blessed Pier Giorgio Frascati. He's a really popular saint among young people. Okay? He died when he was just 24 years old. And he's one of he's a 19th century saint. So there's a lot of information about his life. You know, a lot of times I think we think the saints are just, you know, people who lived hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of, or thousands of years ago or whatever, you know, like before even the turn of the century, way back in the early church. And while that's true, there are modern day saints too. And Pier Giorgio Frascati is a modern day saint. His family was not poor. I don't know how well-to-do they were, but they were well-to-do enough that they had a summer vacation home, you know. You can read a lot about him. You can just Google his name and find some stuff about him on the internet. But he loved life. He loved, you know, going to the theater. He loved like literature, and he loved mountain climbing. He loved to go to the mountains. And so a lot of times you'll see him, pictures of him in the mountains, or, you know, you see his quotes and there'll be mountains in the background. But, you know, he was quite a young man. At the age of 17, he joined the St. Vincent de Paul Society, and he spent a lot of time giving of himself. You know, it is said that like he would even give his bus token money to charity, and then would just run or ride a bike everywhere that he went. So he was very active in his day, very active for his age. He had a very strong prayer life, and he just spent his time giving to others. He died when he was 24 from poliomyelitis. Was what it said that he died from. But you know, his life was full of joy. His life was full of joy. And so he's a saint that you can call upon, that you can ask his intercession for if you deal with suffering. You know, he had a great joy for life. He had a great joy for life. And remember, that's what we're focusing on. It's what you feed grows. What you feed grows. Okay? So press into that today. Pray the prayers of renunciation out loud. There's so much value into praying that out loud. You're speaking, you are renouncing a lie and announcing the truth. Life and death is in the tongue. Life and death is in the tongue. Speak that out loud. Tomorrow, we are going to begin the 8th lie out of 10 that we're looking at. The lie that I am so broken or damaged that God does not want to save me. I am so broken or damaged that God does not want to save me. That's the lie that we're going to start tomorrow. I hope you have a blessed Tuesday. Continue to press into this stuff, you guys. Don't give up. And if you're behind, you're not behind. That's a lie too. All right. I'll see you guys in the morning at 7 a.m. Have a great day.